All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Danica Joan, and this is our monthly panel discussion. And today our topic is all around fathers and extended family as well. We had Mother's Day last month, and we tried to figure out how we could include extended family. So we kind of tagged it on to the fathers, but actually we have three dads here on our panel discussion who have become advocates in our community. And when I say our community, they are dads who have had to battle to stay in their children's lives, and each of one of them are representing different countries. We have Bill Edgett, and he's in New Brunswick, Canada. We have Mark Shepard, and he is in London. And we have Todd Schulke, who's in Tampa, Florida. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to just jump right in and ask each one of you what it is that you are. Let's see. What it is. Give us a little background into who you are, how you got into this family advocacy work that deals with the high conflict families, and we'll just kind of have a conversation. Who would like to start? Bill?
I'll go first. It's not a problem.
Okay.
My name is Mark Shepard. I'm the founder and director of Family Separation Support. Just briefly, my journey started approximately 11 years ago, when my first daughter was born. It wasn't as bad as it sort of gradually moved on to. I wouldn't say it was high conflict to start with. Like most cases, it just starts off as, oh, you can't see your daughter or your child on a certain day, and then it gradually over time starts escalating to not seeing them at all. So I quite quickly worked out that the only way forward for me was to have to go to court to sort of get a court order or some form of legal document to sustain a relationship with my daughter at the time. And yeah, it was very biased, should I say, 11 years ago towards fathers. So that's how my journey started. I started working with other fathers, having discussions with mothers as well. And then I sort of gradually built up a bigger picture that it wasn't strictly a father problem. It was a person problem. And anyone that got involved with the family court was affected by this. It was as simple as that. And then after that, I decided to start campaigning on my own, and then gradually over the years built up various organizations and ended up with Family Separation Support. And that's it.
Awesome. You know what I like about that, you know, we talk about how that, you know, over 20 years ago, I got in the work about 2.5 decades ago. And I totally got here in the United States that it was just presumed that women should get, when the relationship didn't work, then the children by default went to mom, and dads got marginalized and, you know, were represented as a paycheck. So, and even then I knew there was something wrong here. And I tried to get with other advocates, and I noticed back then that the fathers were clinging together, but they were, you know, it became where I felt like I was sort of attacked for being a female. And so I kept saying, hey, we're on the same team. We're both being, you know, we're all being marginalized here, whether we're, you know, male or female. So anyways, that's why I love the fact that you've taken that stance of, yeah, this happened and we can all come together, because it's better to have 100% of this population working for us to bring unity for families than 50%. So thank you so much. Um, Bill Edgett from New Brunswick, Canada. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing for the work.
Oh, well, my story began back in 2015 when me and my ex separated. We had agreed to be amicable and work things out, and we would keep it from the courts and try to, discuss everything and work it out amongst ourselves. And then I was served with court papers, and I was not seeing my children, and it has escalated from there. So from between then and now, 2015 till now, we still have not had a trial date. We are divorced. Our divorce is finalized. But since the divorce, where we've had joint and shared custody, she has continued to make false allegations to police and child protection, which did end up to eventually, after the third investigation, did lead to me losing custody on an interim basis until an investigation was conducted. I did get my children back, but it opened my eyes that I can't just let this go. I have to move forward and try to get the truth out of the situation, because I started collecting all the documentation, and to look at it, it looked like I was a horrible father and a monster of a former spouse. It looked terrible, all this paperwork that was created. So I've been trying to collect as much information as I can to show how this process begins, because I was fortunate enough to find two people that were experienced with alienation, David Schubert and Keith Marsalek. And one of the things that Keith that said to me that really stuck with me is that he said, "You and I are on the same road. We're just at different points in time." And at that time, I had no comprehension of ever getting to where he was, because he was there, he was calm, he was lucid, he was talking to me, he was helpful. This is a stranger from across the country, different country, across the continent. And he's there taking the time to help me and try to make me feel better and work through what I was going through. So I started the New Brunswick page for my own province. So since then, Keith and I have continued to work together, and it is now part of the Parental Alienation Worldwide Support Group pages. And I work for two provinces. I have New Brunswick and Nova Scotia page for my local areas.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for all that you do, because this is not just a phenomenon in a particular country. It is, I think we've all discovered that it's a global concern. And, anything, I would say all of you all are, you're these grassroots advocates, and you really have to have this undying optimism in the face of no agreement to make a difference, to really say, I'm sticking with it. I don't care what they tell me and what's happening. I'm going to make a difference one family at a time. And so I thank you for that. Todd, tell us who you are.
Well, hello, everyone. My name's Todd Schulke. I'm founder of Florida Families, and I'm also advisory board member to Kids Need Both and Hope for Families. A little background, we started Florida Families some years ago. I founded a meetup group to really, my purpose was to just find out whether I was alone, whether my situation was, my experience with family court and everything was unique. And I really messed up. And what I found is a lot of us really messed up, but it wasn't just, there were a lot of people that joined the group that kind of validated. I mean, what we did is we provided a safe place to share experiences, relationship, and information for those of us who had been embroiled in family court or were at that time embroiled or had been embroiled in family court. And what we found is that nearly everyone who joined this group, because it was initially about family court, were victims of parental alienation. At least that's how they felt about their situation. And I think that it was true. And then we also found, which was a surprise to me, just because of some of the biases in the system, that this was a very gender neutral issue. In fact, over half of the members of these groups, and there's hundreds of people in the group right now, were women. So I said, well, that's interesting. Now, maybe women would tend to join the, you could come up with all kinds of reasons, but I found that to be very interesting. And at the same time, we were also experimenting with what you might call standard institutionalized political methods, like lobbying, letter writing, petitioning. We even went to Washington, D.C. in 2019 to demand systemic change in our family courts. And by then, I think the dangers of turning family decisions over to a family court, which by design pit parents against each other, were pretty clear and well documented. What was missing at that time is an alternative to adversarial family court that for families in crisis. As Buckminster Fuller, and kind of an obscure inventor, once said, he said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you build a new model that makes the old model obsolete." And so we relaunched Florida Families as a 501c3 nonprofit to offer a bold new alternative to adversarial family court litigation to help parents contemplating divorce make better informed decisions. And we do this with licensed psychotherapists, certified mediators, cooperative attorneys on an as-needed basis, drawing from the Kids Need Both and Hope for Families platform. And we're piloting this new program this summer. There's a lot of startup things that you need to do to provide services like that, including legal and insurance and so forth. And that's kind of, a little background on me. I am a divorced father of 2 adult children. One spent the day with me yesterday. The other I've not heard from in over a year. And I think it would be correct to say that we've been estranged for probably 6 years. And, we're here today to celebrate Father's Day and to support and empower fathers and their families, and perhaps suggest some ideas and strategies that have worked for us that may work for others. That's kind of why I'm here, and I think why we're all here.
I love it. It is. I mean, we can focus on, the resigned and discouraged and disempowering conversations, or we can focus on and celebrate the wins. And the win for you, Todd, is that you got to spend time with your son.
Yes.
And you're not giving up hope on your daughter.
Correct.
Yeah. How about you two, Mark and Bill? What's this? Are you able to celebrate Father's Day with your family, with your children?
I think over the 11 years, I've only celebrated it twice. I think, if I'm lucky. Unfortunately, I would love to say I would get the opportunity to see my daughters on this day, but unfortunately I don't. I get a card from my eldest daughter, who is 10, and she sent me 2 beautiful cards this weekend. My youngest, I don't have, unfortunately, any communication with. So no. in short, no, I don't, unfortunately.
I got it. And this is a journey for them as well. I mean, them to sort their feelings out. And we were talking about off air about the stages of development for children, and their brains don't fully get completely wired up until they're 26. And if they've gone through a lot of this trauma, this childhood trauma, then, maybe it's a little longer than that. But, all you can do, and in fact, I'm instead of me give the advice, because that's what I do all day long with my co-parenting clients. What would you say about, before I get to that, I want to ask Bill about his experience of Father's Day, and then we'll talk about coming up with ideas on how to not make it a sad weekend, but actually one filled with hope. So go ahead, Bill. Tell us about your Father's Day weekend experience.
Well, thank you. I feel I've been very fortunate through this process. I found Mr. Marsalek and Dave Schubert relatively early in my journey of this, and like I said, I was traumatized, and I was having difficulty dealing with the court system, the divorce, losing the home, taking out all my savings to try and keep the home and keep lawyers, keep the children in my life. So it was totally draining on me. But throughout, I've managed to keep my children in my life, and I've done a lot of research. Ryan Thomas speaks, Amy Baker, Linda Gottlieb, some of the experts that have a lot of good information on how to reunite with children. My children were at that stage where they were afraid of my grandparent, or afraid of their grandparents, my parents. And when my parents would come around, my son would hide behind my leg and hold my leg. So I did a lot of study and research very quickly to try and overcome that. And I've been fortunate enough to have reached them. They have, my children have a great relationship with their grandparents right now. And currently, I did get my children for Father's Day. They spent the night with me last night, and right now they are with their grandparents, just at their camper, just about 5-10 minutes from my home here. So they're I just jumped out of the boat. My dad dropped us off the dock, and my daughter was driving the boat. She brought us over and let me get out so I could come and attend this meeting. So I've been very fortunate to have found the information early enough to help intervene in the process so that it didn't get too bad. And I was able to counteract a lot of the negative effects that they were going through.
I agree with you. It's so very important to early intervention.
Yeah.
Early intervention, because not only if you've got to heal yourself and get yourself out of survival, because think about it, survival is fear-based. Fear-based is basically the non-thinking side of the brain. It's the primitive side of the brain that's not making great decisions. But yeah, like hitting it early, because it's not the normal reaction. Like when the children suddenly come over to you and they're because for your timeshare with them, and they're being belligerent to you. Like in any normal situation, that warrants consequences from the parent. However, we know, because we researched early, that is falling into prey to the hands of the targeting parent. The parent wants you to look like the bad guy. They want to provoke the children to get you triggered and punishing them and ruin the visit, just sabotage the visit from afar. But that requires early intervention, early education, and getting yourself into a support system. And that's something that we've been working on. So Todd Schulke is on our advisory board with Kids Need Both. And we've created this whole community, this collaborative community for all of your agencies and to come together so that we can be of service to these families with resources and coaching, coach-led groups and curriculum and things like that, and programs, because we get it that this is the only way to shift everything is to get into the grassroots and bring us all together. Sadly, in the courts, a lot of times we would go to the courthouses to try to make a difference, but that's like playing whack-a-mole. With every new judge that comes, you have to educate every new judge that gets voted on the bench. And a lot of times we would go legislatively, which is really great because there's a lot of good stuff happening in America legislatively for equal shared parenting. However, judges, if they don't agree that that legislative order is correct for this family because of their own personal views on how family dynamics should be, a judge can override a legislative order. So yeah, grassroots. Give us some ideas on what do you think makes a difference, and you might even bring up what furthers the resignation, so we know what to do and what not to do. Who wants to share?
I'll jump in here.
Okay.
I was very fortunate that I found some people that had a lot of experience in this field, and they were able to give me some good advice into what to expect from how the children would react and how to navigate the situation without making it worse, and trying to, like I said, it's once the process begins, you really have to build that reconnection, because they've already tried, that connection's already been broken, whether it's a little or a lot, depending on your situation. There's something at work there that is interfering with that connection. And it's very easy to make it worse. And if you do the wrong things and you treat the children the wrong way, it will be perceived as you attacking them. And that will further the story they've been told about you, that you are not a good parent. So it's learning to navigate that and be able to deal with what you're going through and still handle it and deal with it properly, so that you can rebuild that relationship.
Isn't it kind of like you have to be almost like a lay child psychologist?
Right. 100%. 100%.
I mean, really, it's outwitting, a lot of the things that are going on, because it's a mind game.
It is. The biggest thing I had trouble understanding was like the narcissistic personality disorder. And like, if my ex is a narcissist, why would she ever want to have children? And when you finally realize that it's their source of feeding her, that it's all about her still, it makes sense. But that was one of the things that I had most difficulty trying to figure out, because it didn't make sense to me. And that's what people need to realize, and why the courts and the judges get it wrong, is these people don't think logically, don't act logically, and trying to figure out the situation in a logical manner doesn't work. It just, you don't if you don't understand what drives these people and what they are after, then you can't understand their actions. That's the big thing right there. It's learning to understand what you're dealing with and how to cope with it.
100%.
Yeah, and I have Jennifer is posting, she says, the child is an extension of them. Truly.
Yes.
I mean,
It is.
yeah. And therefore, if they're an extension of that, and I'll tell you, even in dealing with working with parents with my co-parenting course who are not high conflict, there's always a little bit of conflict, or many times, but what was I going to say is, friends I know who are single parents, a lot of times they get so frustrated. Maybe they don't have a social life other than them and the kids. So in the home is kind of that safe space to vent and say what you want to say, but the parent forgets they're the parent. And when there's not enough money and the child support didn't come in and you don't know how to pay your electric bill, what do? You vent it to this safe space. And you forget, wait a minute, what damage am I doing by saying, venting about my ex, to my children? And people don't even know that. The other thing is how many times have you met a parent who is like, oh, I know I can get one of my children to talk to the judge. And I'm like, oh, no, please don't. That is taking really bad bait, not realizing the impact of it down the road of creating this, betrayal, this feeling of betrayal that, in the child, of having to, they may be mad at that parent at that particular time, but as the adult, we got to say, nope, there's a better way. The children cannot be getting on the witness stand against a parent. There's too many professionals out there that can get the dirt on the other person if they need to be. What do you think about that? The testifying in front of a child against a parent?
I personally don't think it should ever happen. You should never put a child in that situation. Firstly, in my eyes, we shouldn't be going into courts full stop. Okay, courts are not equipped to deal with any kind of parental conflict and parental alienation. It's just not equipped for it. So for me, it's all about early intervention, getting to the parents, the children as early as possible, and removing the train of thought that going to court is normal. Okay, to get rid of that persona of, right, we're separating. The first thing we need to do is go to court. Okay, we've got to get a child arrangement order in place, because realistically, as adults, you should be able to say, right, the relationship didn't work. Okay, we have children. Let's do what's best for the children and spend equal time with both parents. Simple as that. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, one person from either side will take it personally when there's a divorce or a separation. They get angry, emotions are flaring up, and the first thing they do is, well, if you don't want me, you don't want your kids. And that's the first thing they do. And as soon as they have that thought, the rest is history. You end up straight in court, trying to get court orders and time spent with your child. So for me, it's, and I would love to say it's about education, because educating the judges doesn't seem to be working for me. Okay, and hence why I don't think we should be going to court full stop. And that's why my organization and everyone else's organizations exist, because we have to find an alternative solution to court. Court should be last resort, very, very last resort.
Well, here in the United States, there's a very high profile custody battle going on between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Now, Brad Pitt had to fight for his 50%. And Angelina Jolie is getting her children, to those who are willing to, like, really trying to get them into the judge's chambers to betray their father. And it just breaks my heart, because a parent should not have to fight for 50%. And I totally get that some parents are just not equipped or interested in exercising their 50%, but they should be given that 50%. If there's no history previous to the breakup, then, why not 50%?
But this is where it comes to what Bill said, false allegations. Mm-hmm. It's so easy. So when there's a separation, it depends on if it's a separation or an actual divorce. If it's a divorce, then everyone tends to go to a legal representative, okay, to speak about the divorce. And we all know that gets exaggerated, because if you want to have an amicable separation, then you cannot get any legal representatives involved. It's as simple as that. Because as soon as you do, they will go, okay, how much is such and such worth? What assets do they have? They don't care about you as a person. They don't care about the children involved in your situation. They're only interested in how long they can string your divorce out for and how much money they can earn from that divorce. And that's the problem. If you cut the money out of the situation, I guarantee you they will resolve your divorce within a month or less. Yeah. If you said to them, right, you're not going to get paid for my divorce, they'll be like, oh, okay, right. So what we'll do then, let's get this resolved right now, and then you'll be on your merry way. But as soon as they see that you've got assets or someone owns a property or whatever it may be, it's almost like, great, right? What you need to do now is we'll throw in a few false allegations and, get a few orders in place. And then that's where the chaos starts. And we have to remove the chaos from the separations. And that's the only way we'll move forward with stable children, stable environments. It's all that chaotic frustration that comes out, especially if you're the non-resident parent, because every move you take will be frustrated by the other side, because it means that they can lengthen out the process, which in turn earns more money.
It's all money. I mean, the people who are, yeah, you're right. I mean, and it's a tactic, it's a bully tactic of, I'm going to throw all the mud on the wall and hope that I get a portion of it. And it's the, there's certain professions in the divorce industry that are, just cleaning up. And then there are other professions that are just, they're trying to bring healing to the families and stuff like that. And they're the ones that, if you're, I call them the good guys, if you're a good guy, and it doesn't really matter what your profession is in family advocacy, if you're, fighting for the unity of the family and healing and stuff like that, we're all about how can we support you? Because, we need more of that. We need less people making money off the destruction of our families.
100%.
I
Go ahead.
couldn't agree with you more, Mark, about the misguided notion that it's all about educating attorneys and educating judges, and it reminds me, I'm full of quotes today, I guess, but Upton Sinclair once said, he said, it's very, very difficult to get someone to understand something when their livelihood depends on them not understanding.
It's true.
And I mean, they know full well what they're doing. And in most
exactly.
cases, and
exactly.
they realize, even the good guys know, and they say, "Gee, this is what's going on."
The funny thing is, because on LinkedIn, I deliberately connect myself with a lot of law firms. Okay, and there's a reason for that, because I want them to not only see the posts and the information that I put out, but to see how their actual law firms progress, especially with family law firms. And it's quite interesting to see how many offices they can open up over a period of time based on the money they receive from families' separations.
Yeah.
And that, for me, I wouldn't like to say it's immoral, but I'm not saying every particular law firm is like that. There's going to be good people and bad people in each one. Okay. But for me, it's the growth of their law firms, which is just extraordinary, that you could think that from the pain of someone else, the distress of someone else, you can continue such large growth in the family law arena. That's why I'm not saying that they should all be made redundant, but what I'm saying is we need to find an alternative solution.
One factoid that, and this is, kind of extrapolating quite a bit, but in our there's circuit courts in the U.S. and in one of our state circuit courts, and this information is available probably across the nation, but I know this for a fact that there are twice as many family court opened and reopened cases as there are civil cases, and there's 3 times as many as there are criminal cases. I mean, family court clearly pays the bills, and that's what we're up against.
100%. And this is why we exist. It's people like us that will make that change. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. And as soon as we can take that power away from the family court and bring it back to the people that actually want real services and real support, and not to be financially broken because of it, that's what we're aiming for, and that's why we exist.
Here.
That's right. That is right. And on that note, I would also say that we have to figure out which which tiger are we feeding?
Yeah.
We've got to feed the tiger that's making a difference, and come and be together. You know, when you think about a bully in school, a lot of times it takes a group of people to unite to stand up against that one bully, because 1-to-1 the bully wins.
100%.
So we've got to have a righteous fight, and it's okay to have righteous anger, and just, we can't be filled with, resignation and fury, being furious about something. We need to have like righteous anger to channel this for the best interest of the families. And I know that I follow several groups on social media, and there's just so much. I would say to people out there that if you be careful of the groups that you go into that are not moderated, that are all about chewing on the evilness of anything else, a person or an organization, because that's resignation in disguise. That is saying, I'm just going to vent about it and sit in this sewage because I can't do anything about it. But that's why I'm all about getting in, get yourself a coach, get yourself a conflict coach, divorce coach, custody coach, whatever you want to call them. But they are just like a sports coach, a coach. They're not going to tell you, they're not going to soothe you and validate your unhealthy thinking. They're going to make you stronger. And sometimes they're going to tell you what you don't want to hear. So if you're in plugged in these groups that are just sitting in the sewage, get out.
No, 100%. I could not agree with that. Well, I've had to remove myself from many of them, because they were becoming quite unhealthy. And also for me, we're going to be leading some groundbreaking work in terms of having evidence-based work. I don't believe in opinion. I really don't. I like everything to be backed with evidence, and that's probably because of my background. But at the same time, if you don't have evidence to prove or disapprove something, then it's worthless to me. And that is why my organization will be structured top to bottom, evidence-based work, and evidence-based work only.
That's right. Something I want to point out is all of us, but I'll focus on you because today's your day, this is Father's Day. All of you are people that were touched by this, and it was like, and you couldn't not advocate. You didn't have a PhD in your background, I assume. You didn't come into this as a profession. You came into this because it touched you personally. And I would say that to everybody out there is become an advocate of some sort. Be part of the solution. If you have the education behind you, become a family mediator, become a guardian ad litem, do whatever you can to make a difference in this work and be part of the good guy team. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's see here. So, Bill, what's going on? I know you said you've got you're leading a couple of groups in 2 provinces in Canada. How have things changed from the beginning of your work to now?
Well, in March 1st of this year, Canada has just created new legislation, Bill C-78, and they updated the Divorce Act to recognize coercive and controlling behaviors. As Mark had said, the false allegations, once they begin, that's when the divorce process deteriorates, and it draws it out, and it makes it longer, and it turns it into a war and a battle, where it depletes both sides of resources, money, emotional time, that damages the children. It's damaging to everyone involved. And I had the opportunity to meet with the Attorney General of the province of New Brunswick, and one of the friends I helped run her page one of her suggestions to me was that once false allegations began in the family court venue, to stop the family court proceedings and don't let this now becomes a criminal matter. Criminal
100%.
courts, the criminal courts aren't as burdened as the family courts. They're not overworked. And there's two reasons why it should move to the criminal court instead of staying in the family court. You've got an allegations of abuse, which is a criminal offense. So either one, it's true. That's one possibility. It could be true. Real allegations of abuse, criminal offense. Two, it could be false, still a criminal offense. And someone could be trying to use that to manipulate the system to their advantage to get custody and access, which is going to make the situation so much worse in the long run for everyone involved.
It's very good. It's a good point. And I also get that sometimes courts are hesitant if there's child abuse allegations or something that could shift it into the juvenile court or the criminal court. A lot of times judges are hesitant to send it to a different court.
Well, some of these issues need to be dealt with because in my case, I've been the subject of 3 investigations by Child Protection. I've been investigated by municipal police department, and I've been investigated by the RCMP, which is kind of a federal or state, in the United States, a government agency, policing agency. So out of all these investigations and everyone who has investigated me for all these allegations, there has been no one to corroborate any of the statements made against me except my ex's boyfriend, which they provided. I've got a DVD of the statement he made to the police, and that's the only corroborative evidence that they had. And I was arrested for her criminal harassment for harassing both him and her. And when he testified at court, he testified during that period for which I was arrested for harassing him, that him and I had no contact. So that's
this is exactly why I agree with Bill. If you're going to bring criminal allegations into family court, it will never be tested to the same standard. Okay,
correct.
So what you need to do, as Bill said, as soon as an allegation is made, the proceedings of family court are stopped. You remove the allegation to be investigated and produced in criminal court. Okay, so then you will be able to prove or disapprove to a criminal standard, not family law standard, criminal standard, and an appropriate action can be taken.
There was no standard given in 2 of the decisions against me by judges. One judge, when he granted peace bond against me, he said, there are no requirements that need to be met. The only thing that needs to be satisfied is for me to believe that she is fearful of this man. I believe she's fearful. Peace bond granted 1 year. That was a criminal peace bond that was brought against me, and that was one of the tools used to have me arrested. And I had a criminal trial for breach of undertaking, for breaching that peace bond, for having a third party call to pick up my children from me when it was my custody and access time. I was arrested for that, had to go to a criminal trial. I was found not guilty, but again, the criminal harassment charges were dropped against me because of insufficient evidence, but they did move forward with the criminal charges for breach of undertaking that were placed on me because of the alleged criminal harassment that they couldn't move forward with because of insufficient evidence. And again, when it came to the third time I was investigated by Child Protection and the false allegations, the judge said he was going to err on the side of caution and grant my ex sole custody of the children until the completion of the investigation by the RCMP and Child Protection. We made it back to court, provided evidence that both the RCMP and Child Protection had exonerated me of any wrongdoing, yet he still did not return custody of the children to me. He said, we will continue on an interim basis. You will have access for this schedule. We'll return in another month or 2 and proceed from there. So I lost custody of my children because someone picked up the phone and made a false report to the RCMP, which the RCMP officer came to meet with me. I have that whole interaction on video, and instead of taking a report from me, the RCMP officer left and called child protection and passed on all the information that my ex had given to him, because I also did get the files from child protection, that intake report. And again, these are criminal matters, but there have been no penalties for her for.
Well, here's the thing, and I've seen judges do this before, is in an abundance of caution, they think that, okay, so a restraining order, a protective order that keeps everybody on their side of the fence, no communication, is the right thing. And that might be fine if they're not children involved, but judges, and I know that they have a lot of these conferences and, like continuing education, just like any profession. But the judges really need to get the impact of their choices, because if they continue to hold up a restraining order, it can easily be used as a tactic, a weapon. It can also be used, a tool to prevent access to the children. So judges really have to pay attention to the impact of their orders and how it can be a slippery slope, because they just, if they have so many cases that they're like, okay, yeah, continue that restraining order, continue that, and they have no idea the destruction they're doing to the families.
That was another one of my suggestions when I got to meet with the Attorney General, was in any cases like this where the children are involved in allegations of abuse, they should have someone oversee the court case to observe the parents, try to determine which parent, because you got two people there telling opposing stories. And until you know which one is telling the truth, you're going to continue to make wrong decisions in the case and make the things worse. They need someone that can look at the people and understand people with pathology, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, whichever thing that may be driving their behaviors, to be able to recognize the indicators and how they express themselves and express their information to the court. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, but you need qualified professionals to recognize that. And that's what they're missing in the courts. And that's why
this is why in the UK, we have something called a fact finding. Okay. So any allegations of abuse will be investigated, but unfortunately, they try to discourage it. Okay, most of the cases, because they know as soon as they do that, well, the court case is going to be very short. So if they find out that the allegations are true or false or whatever it may be, it's done. They can't string it on. But if they say, well, actually, we won't have a fact finding, what we'll do is we'll just get all these other agencies to make the reports, and then we'll say, oh, it takes 3 months for this agency, 3 months for that agency, 3 months, and now you've gone a year without seeing your children. Right. Okay. And then by the time they've come back, they'll say, yeah, we better do a fact finding now. So that takes another 6 months, and it's gone into 2 years now. And then they're like, oh, well, we're going to conclude this now. We'll have the final hearing. Now it's taken 2 years, and you've probably not seen your children in 2 years.
Right. Now we'll lift the restraining order.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just ludicrous.
So in the state of Florida, we have, so if you do have a couple that's choosing to split and they're trying to do it amicably, there's a lot of distrust in the midst of like divorce, especially when there's children and assets involved. There's, oh my God, am I gonna, there's just so much fear around it. However, in the state of Florida, an attorney, a couple can't go in and say, hey, attorney, I want you to figure out our divorce and we want you to be the one attorney. The rule in the state of Florida is I've got to represent one against the other.
In court, though.
In court.
You can have an attorney advise you outside,
exactly.
Yeah.
But the attorney of record in court has to choose a side against a side. So there again, you're further perpetuating that
battle mentality.
That battle, that's that war mentality. Now, I do know that there's mediation centered divorce and, and separation, which is the closest to, and especially since if a mediator is an attorney, that at least gives you a little bit of like legal distinctions, but still, they've just definitely set it up where, unless you want to end up on the losing end, you better hire yourself a big badass attorney that's, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it doesn't have to be that way. Absolutely.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying for anyone that hasn't been into a family court situation. That is why I exist, and so many of your organizations exist, because we don't want them to go through what we went through.
Right.
That's
And
right.
that's why I do what I do, because I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to ever go through what I went through. And that's
Including
why we
our-
have to do better, and we will do better.
That's
Hear, hear.
right.
Including our kids and their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a
Generational thing. This
Yeah.
can go on forever.
Yes.
And here's one. Somebody says, the choice between bankruptcy and our children is a horrible choice.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so many people have, unfortunately, whoever's gone through the family court system, or especially divorce, someone always loses out, guaranteed. Financially, someone always loses out.
So we need to stop taking the bait, and I get that there's emotions involved. I get that there's betrayal involved. There's so many, feelings swirling around that relationship. And, unfortunately, a parent will take the weapon that they have at their disposal that stabs the knife deeper. And that's sadly the children.
Yeah.
And it
And-
should.
And it's just like when you said about the Angelina Jolie case.
Mhm.
That is a worldwide thing. It goes everywhere. Everyone's following that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it should have never got to that stage. Now, if you look at Angelina Jolie's history, okay, and how she got to where she is in this sort of celebrity lifestyle, she's a very troubled woman.
Mhm.
Okay, very troubled woman. She's had a lot of trauma in her life. Now, whether or not that's been dealt with, I don't know. I don't know her personally. But one thing I can say is it's led to this situation that they're in. If you look at the conflict, the terms that she uses in terms to try and get control over a situation, that should be quite simple. We had a separation. You both adopted these kids. You both are the parents to these children. You both spend time with the children. That's it. That's how it should end. But unfortunately, because of all her trauma and everything she's been through, she's created a conflicted situation, which doesn't need to be there. And this is why, like Bill says, there is no one trained in the court process or legal professionals that can diagnose these issues. And that's why they need to stay out of court.
I mean, and I'll tell you, if you set aside, this person is evil, this person's narcissist, let's take away the labels and take away the resignation. And there was a time when you didn't see this person as evil and stuff. And I get that some people are just really good at battle mode. That doesn't serve anybody. So when we set that aside, what can we do? We can fight for the rights of the children. Truly, that's the goal, is being the advocate for the children, and the children being whole and complete, so that they're not going to pass along this generational trauma. And you're right, Angelina Jolie, there's a history. She did not have a good relationship with her mother that validated her. And we're not going to call Angelina evil. She may be doing evil things in our opinion, but that being said, she's a product of her environment, a product of her childhood.
Yeah. One other thing about, the popularity of false allegation restraining orders, which, some people call it the silver bullet technique because it is so popular. And there are judges in the states that pride themselves on the number of restraining orders. And you're talking tens of thousands during a judicial career. And, they've served in family court. And there's something, called judicial immunity. So, on the one hand, you're doing right by your profession by, using false allegation restraining orders. You're avoiding a PR disaster if they're in the outside case where there is danger and there's a problem and it isn't false. And then, there's really nothing, even if you make a mistake with a false allegation restraining order, there's no consequences. You can never be sued. The judge is completely immune from any liability for those decisions. And that's kind of a subtle part of the issue too within the court.
That's right. So we have a comment from someone, and they said, and they brought up the case of John Mast. I think we all heard about John Mast getting gunned down by his father-in-law. I mean, it's an extreme case of an animosity level becoming so intent on destruction. And sadly, today is the children's first Father's Day without him alive. And that's where it can lead to, because I fully believe that father-in-law thought he was implementing justice, and all of us know, oh my God, how could a father-in-law do this to his grandchildren?
Shared persecutory delusion.
It is. It's like,
it's frightening.
but
frightening.
Get it in the early stages. Get yourself some help. Get yourself plugged into a support group, not a soup of sewage that just validates all the resignation. It's super important I always tell people, like, before you hire an attorney, hire a coach, because not only are they going to be cheaper, they're going to show you the cheapest route, and they're going to tell you when you need that attorney. And which is one of the reasons that we, along with Todd on the team, with Kids Need Both, we've created this platform. And I definitely want Bill and Mark for you guys to be plugged into this community called Hope for Families. And we're creating a movement. We are creating a movement to shift the conversation and bring healing to hurting families.
100%. Anything to help our children, I am there.
Yeah, we have Todd, I don't know if you want to say something about the I say it's a platform, but it's really a community. It's really a movement. We've been working with programmers for a year now to develop a learning management system for those of you professionals who've created courses. Also, those of you professionals, or not just the professionals, the advocates that are leading live programs and live groups to make a difference. And we're trying to also be the one that promotes all of your events out into the other social media platforms, so that we all can win.
Yeah,
Thank you.
one thing that's kind of, I think, unique about, I think our thinking about the platform has evolved over the past year, is the idea that, well, many of us, like Mark, you'd mentioned, and I totally agree with you, that, the solutions have to be outside the current system, the adversarial system. Trying to change that is a yeoman's job. What can we do outside the system? The professionals on the platform and that we're interacting with are both, are playing, some are like-minded in that sense. Others are, trying to improve things within the court system. I mean, it's not exclusive in that sense, but by seeing what works and what doesn't work, and by getting case studies of, positive results coming from, the use of cooperative techniques instead of the combative methods, like false allegation restraining orders is one of them, and child support and unequal parenting. I mean, those are the three, some of the big techniques that are used in adversarial court or family court. We'll be, as Danica says, it's a movement, and that's part of, not everybody's going to be on the same page. It's like you were saying, Bill, even with parental alienation, we're each at different stages. Some of us have adult children that are, some of us have, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and it's it's the same thing, but we're at different stages. And I think that a lot of the professionals in this industry, in and around this industry, some are leading, at the forefront of the movement, and others, still need proof, or whatever. They're interested, but are not completely, bought off on it. And so it's an open platform, and I think that's important.
The goal is we all can do something. We all can do something to make a difference. And I get that there's a lot of advocates who were, really putting everything, their money, their time, their everything into this movement. And our goal is, you shouldn't be poor. You shouldn't go broke doing the right thing.
Right. 100%.
To try to make a difference for families and stuff like that. Not that it's not a platform. Obviously, it's not a platform to make all these professionals wealthy. That's not the agenda. The agenda is, let's work smarter by uniting together.
100%. Well, this is like you mentioned with regards to healing. That's why I'm also doing retreats. I do believe that healing is a massive process and part of what we're trying to achieve. It's not just about dealing with things on your own, but having the right support and finding the right healing process around what we're trying to achieve as well.
That's right. Well, it is 3 minutes after the hour. I know that I don't know what time it is over in the UK, but I know it's not this time. And I thank you for whatever it took for you to get here on Father's Day. And same with you, Bill. Thank you so much. And Todd,
thank you for having me.
for what it took to
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. All right. And that's all we have. If you have any questions, make some comments in wherever it is that you are watching our stream. And of course, we're always available through an instant message or so. I'm sure you can find us somewhere on the internet somewhere. All right. Have a wonderful day, rest of your day, and happy Father's Day to everyone.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day, guys.